Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be playing around with some masks and some new bits and pieces and basically having fun making a mess. So I'm starting in my blue Dinner Wakely journal, just on one of the cotton pages. I haven't gessoed, I'm just going straight in and putting some paint down on the page. And I'm starting with the mustard, then going in with some raspberry, and I'm doing it on a fairly wet surface so you can see the paint's moving pretty well and it's sort of bleeding in everywhere. I just wanted a sort of a really bright, happy background. So with one of the stencils, this one's called Grid, I think, just doing a little bit of a rub over and taking off some of that wetness. So you can see it sort of gives a bit of a ghosted effect. It's pretty light and that's okay. I just wanted a bit of texture in the background. I'm then going in with a contrasting color. This is Carnation, I think, and just stenciling over the top as well. So you just get this, you know, different levels of pattern in the background. Once I've dried all that off, it takes a little bit longer because it is wet underneath. Then going in with my orange just to sort of deepen up some of the colors on here. I'm really loving this pink, yellowy, orange color combo at the moment. It sort of just reminds me of sunsets and happy, I think. Can you tell it's winter in Tasmania? So I'm going in with a bit of a contrast color in the malachite, so this sort of greeny turquoisey color, which again stands up beautifully against these bits and pieces. Now, this sort of background you can use in any way. I'm going to actually obliterate most of this with a mask, but as a page in itself, it's I really like it, and it's something really simple about you know, using parts of stencils and just creating parts of patterns on it. So I decided I want to put some of these circle shapes on. This is actually from a Dinner Wakely stamp, the outside of the stamp set, which is just circles. But I actually really like the frame of it, and I tend to use that more than the stamps itself, I have to say. I then went in, it didn't stamp out all that well, mostly because I didn't clean it off the last time I used acrylic ink very well, or acrylic paint. So be warned, if you do use paint on your stamps, works brilliantly, but you do need to clean it off because it will be permanent on your ink afterwards. So just be aware. I then got a bit crazy and I had paint left on my gel plate, so I decided to use it on my ink pad as a square stencil too. I then decided to go in with these grid stamps and actually just paint them in just to get some solid blocks of color. So it's quite geometric. I've got the triangles in the background, then some circles, and now I've got some rectangles over the top, just to sort of give a bit of a different look to the page, I suppose. And it's a really easy way to add a pattern. I did realize I stuffed up the pattern there because I wasn't concentrating, but there you go, these things happen. So once I've finished this, I'm then going in with my neon ink pad. This one's from Hero Arts, and just adding some additional stamping in the background with this gorgeous stamp set. So everything is really loose and ready, and I've probably added way more on this page than I needed to, but again, I was having fun and I was just playing around. So if you go too far, that's okay, because this next bit will help out somewhat. Well, not this bit, but when we use the masks, because, you know, why not add more when it's already crazy? I'm going in with my paint pens, and again, just picking up some of those colors, adding in some white because I didn't have any white space on here, and on those neon circles I've just added a little bit of extra so it kind of stands out a little bit. So there's lots happening. It is a very busy background. So these are the masks that I'm going to be using today. So they're Dinner Wakely from May, I think she released them, and I'm just popping them onto the page. So how masks work is the opposite of stencils. Anything you have underneath the mask will stay whatever you have underneath, so whether it be white or heavily patterned like I have, and everything in the background will obviously become this different color. So I have gone in with my sponge fairly lightly. I've done darker around the image, then I've added in some of that Carnation because I had some left, just to lighten it off a little bit, and you can see you get this really strong contrast. The thing I like about this is you can still see the pattern underneath, so it's not gone to waste. It gives that texture and pattern and the repeating of the color, but it does make those figures stand out really, really well by having that masked off image. I'm also going in with my pencil just to add a little bit of shape to it, and I really loved, it was pure coincidence that those gridded stamps actually ended up looking like skirts on these two. So you know, yay for coincidence. Once I had just wet and put a little bit of shadow behind it, I decided I wanted to ground my images a little bit more. I also decided I wanted to put some splatter in the background. I was feeling a little bit lazy and didn't want to get my ink out, and then ended up getting my ink out. You can use your Posca paint pens to splatter ink, but you do tend to get much chunkier and linier dots when you do it. Using the fan brush helps you get much finer mist. So this is one of the new doodle sets from from Dina Wakley in May. There's lots of leaves on this one, which I really loved. So I decided to use the leaves in the bottom, sort of like a bit of a carpet grounding type thing, because it, in my mind's eye, even though they did have a shadow they were standing on, it still kind of, to me, looked like they were busy floating in the middle of nowhere, and that didn't quite work for me. So I put in sort of like this bit of ground underneath them, I suppose. I then decided, because I do love a bit of foliage, that I would stamp some foliage around the background. And this is where masks come in really handy as well. So you can see I'm stamping over the top of where those images are, but because I've got the masks there, it's going to protect and block them out. If you wanted to do that technique without having masks, just use Post-it note or something like that. You can stamp on your image and then cover it over the top. It's a really handy stamping technique to have. I decided to brighten up the colour again and put a little bit of green in, and these little stamped foliage leaves are brilliant because they've got that little bit of area where you can colour it in, which I really like. It's not all solid, it's got that sort of whimsy feel behind them as well, which I really, really liked. Because it's me, because, you know, I decided I would use my really scribbly white lines over the outside of it too, so you sort of get this little chunk of black and white and green, and just, it makes me happy. So do or don't do, it's up to you, but I enjoy adding that little bit of green in. When I got down to the bottom, I decided that needed a little bit of green too, so I'm going in with a green gel pen. And this is sort of a neon green, so it's a slightly different shade from what I've got above, but again, it's sort of bringing that green. So repeating colours is quite important when you're doing pages like this. This helps everything sort of stick together a little bit. Finally, I decided I wanted to put a bit of a quote in, because even though it was now more grounded and I really loved the figures and I really loved the foliage behind it, I wasn't still very happy with the ground, so I decided a quote over the top of it would help that, and I chose "Live a Colourful Life" because the figures are very colourful. But as you can see, it's a good way to sort of calm down a crazy background. Once I've written it out, I'm also going in and putting a bit of a drop shadow in with my grey pen, and that just helps those letters float more from the background. It's a really sort of handy tip to have. I like using my alcohol marker to do that because it is a transparent colour, which really, really works. Finally, I'm going in with some washi. These are the Dina Wakley washi hearts. I love putting them on abstract figures like this. I don't know why, it just makes me happy. So you can sort of see the pattern in the background. You can see how that stamped image with the white over the top, the washi, how everything sort of blends together. And this is the finished page. Super, super simple, and lots of fun to do. If you don't have masks, maybe use a figure from a fashion magazine, cut that out and use that as a mask. So the world is your oyster, really. Until next time, bye for now.